David, goes without saying, but I imagine it's been a positive week here, having got the result that your performance deserved at the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's been a positive few weeks. I think you look back to the opportunity for us to train when we have Saturday to Saturday fixtures. Although we're a little bit reduced on numbers because of injuries, means it gives us a chance to work on what we need to work on. So you go back to the week after the Plymouth game leading up to the Cardiff game was a really good week for us. We backed that up with a really good performance that ends in disappointment because we don't defend a moment in the last 30 seconds. You then have to, as we do, be consistent around taking the positives from that game and looking at what we need to get better at. We then have another full week going into the Rotherham game. Performance probably not as good as what the Cardiff game was, but in different circumstances, playing against a different team, but still create good chances enough to win the game. And thankfully, in that occasion, get the reinforcement of getting 3 points. So that again just leads into what we've done this week.
So do you feel now that the work that you have been able to do on the training ground is starting to be translated onto the pitch?
That's easy to say when you've got some decent results. There have been, you look at some of the performance we've had since the start of the season, lots of the stuff that we've done through pre-season translated onto the pitch. Some brilliant performances, but brilliant performances in spells in games, whether that be 45 minutes, whether that be less, and not finding that consistency. And I suppose understanding the bits where if you're playing well, take your chances and score and put teams to bed. But when things aren't going so well, and teams will always have spells in games against you, be able to dig in and defend well and see things through and then try and get a foothold in the game. That's probably been the biggest, like I say, the biggest criticism. All the past few weeks have done has allowed us to refocus on the things that we did work on through pre-season and the things that worked on over the past few years and give other players more opportunities and reps through doing that and work on the bits that where we feel in games that we maybe need to be better at. So we've got a lot of changes, a lot of new personnel in defensive positions. Familiarity and being able to work together gives you the best chance of increasing understanding. And I'm by no means saying that because we worked and have had the opportunity to work in the last couple of weeks, then all of a sudden things click into place. But it gives you more chance. So been good to work on stuff, individual stuff, collective stuff, across the whole team. And again, you would hope that the result that we get last weekend can be a start, but it only comes a start if we make it a start. Sometimes, especially when you're inside, you can overanalyze things and overthink around what's going on. But we've had our 9-game review this week amongst the staff, and although we've been a little bit up and down, and we'd like to be more consistent because that's something we've been over the past few years. We're in a pretty good place as regardless of what that looks like, with an opportunity to really kick on in the next block.
Obviously, looking ahead to that next block, you'll have a points target in mind, I'm sure. What do you want to see in terms of performances? What does that progress look like over the next 9 games?
It just looks like more consistency for me. Like I say, if you look at what we were last year, I said that we didn't lose consecutively, and we've not done that this year. But probably the distance between our best performance and our worst performance was pretty close. I don't think at any points last year we were unbelievable. I think we were good and very good in places, but I don't think we were really poor for our standards. I think already this season there's been a bigger gap in what that looked like in individual games, and what you've got to do is make sure that doesn't become the case, and we can be reliable around what we expect to see. I think out of possession, we've seen more clear identity in the last couple of games of what we want to be and how we want to go about it. Within that, we still need to work on the in-possession stuff in terms of how we want to create chances. The big positive is that we've created chances over the past 2 games by being really good defensively and really aggressive around how we've pressed and what we've done, while still having the moments of quality to go and make opportunities for ourselves. Probably for being critical, the last couple of games we've not taken the opportunities we should, which in the first 7 games in the league games we certainly did. Big positive, we scored in every game, which is good. We've been a threat in every game and created, like I say, created chances. We've just got to still remain efficient when we are creating the chances that we do create, because that can put us in positions where we do have more ability to control the game how we want.
We spoke about the clean sheet last week and the importance of that. Obviously, a milestone one for Ben as well, 150 across 4 different divisions. It's an incredible record, really.
Yeah, amazing record. I think I've said in my programme, sometimes you can undervalue achievements, especially individual achievements, because we're big on what the team is. But we all celebrated that and congratulated Ben on doing that. I think to play 150 games for a team in the modern era is something that doesn't really happen. For him to, I suppose, tick off the 400 appearances early in the season and to get 150th clean sheet is brilliant. And hopefully many more to come. That requires, as a collective, us defending well and letting him have as little to do as possible. And hopefully that'll continue to be the case.
Another player who's caught the eye last couple of weeks, Ben Osborne. You've obviously had to be, or you've not been able to be as careful with his minutes as you would have liked since he's come in, but filling in that left wing back role, how do you feel he's fitted in?
Yeah, really well. And like you said, the concern, and it's not a huge concern, is we're relying on Ozzy every minute of every game, which ideally I'm not saying we wouldn't want to do, because if he was playing as he was playing, you'd still want him to be in there for us, but it would be nice to have the security or safety of another option to go in and play in that position. But unfortunately, the two of the lads are out and continue to be unavailable for us. So yeah, we've got to be careful. He's used experience really well, give us real balance down that side, whilst also being a threat. I suppose we brought him in with an idea in mind in terms of games that he might play and adaptability he'd give us in terms of position he could play. So he could play inside the pitch and give us another option in midfield. But at the moment, he's doing a great job for us where he is. And like I said, with the clean sheets, long may that continue.
Hard not to think about Reading at home without thinking about Tyler Onyango and that individual performance last season. Missing last weekend, is he expected to be back for Saturday?
Yeah, Tyler, sorry, he's back available. So obviously played in the game the week before. As it turns out, played with an injury, although functionally he was okay. So he's had that checked out. He's had a little bit of time to recover and more just I suppose reduce the risk. He's been back in with us training this week, so yeah, comes back into the fold. But as you say, the 2 performances against Reading last year were real standout. Again, sometimes against teams I suppose you'll say in boxing, styles make fights, if you like, and it certainly suited us playing those last year. Just as playing against other teams, it didn't suit us, and certain teams will tend to have the run over you. But the 2 performances against them last year were really good ones for us. But on the flip side of that, we probably go into the game, both them games last year, knowing you're playing against a really good team, a team that are expansive, are young, but have got real quality. They've added to that this year. Granted, they've got some injuries themselves, and Paddy O'Connor, who they brought in from Lincoln's, not played all season. They've got a few injuries across the back line, so they're in a little bit of a transition. Obviously, lost some players in the summer to Championship teams, and have probably not hit the standards or hit the levels that they've wanted to. But watch them on Wednesday against Wrexham in the first half. Granted, they made some changes, but they've got a team with quality as they did last year. And I'm sure when it does click, there'll be a team that will be up there competing as they were last year. Just missed out on the playoffs by 1 place, and I'm sure that'll be a minimum expectation of them this year.
And you only have to go back to when they played Bolton, for example, a few weeks ago. very good at staying in games, aren't they, and hanging in there, even if they're not maybe things aren't going entirely their way.
Yeah, it's not been something that they've maybe had to get used to. I watched the Bolton game, and Bolton dominated the game, absolutely dominated the game, and probably similar to ourselves a little bit, guilty in not taking the chances to put Reading out of the game, and they get themselves an equaliser late on. And probably after that point could have gone and nicked it. But yeah, they've had to do that maybe last year because of maybe the less expectation last year. I know when Ruben moved on and when Noel went in, sorry, we spoke to them after we played them away, and they were pretty sort of withdrawn in terms of where their expectations were, and maybe that lack of expectation gave them the freedom to go and perform and get so close to the playoffs last year. Once that does happen and you have a bit of a run, expectation increases. And they've invested in the squad. They've obviously got new ownership and new plans. The setup there in terms of training ground and stadium is set to be higher than they are currently and where they've been previously. So there's always going to be that pressure to perform. And like I say, with the change that they've made, they've not quite sort of clicked. But we know it'll be a really, really tough game. We know they've got quality, and we've got to make sure that we're bang at it from our perspective. As I say, backing up what we've done and making sure we have that consistency that we found over the previous two games.
And just finally on the other injuries in the squad, you mentioned in your programme notes positive news about Owen Dodgson. Where are the likes of him, Malik, Teo, R2 up to?
Yeah, Malik not as severe as the others, so touch and go on Malik for this weekend, but again a small back spasm, which will be not very long. We hope that it might be this weekend. If it's not, then I don't see any issue with it being next weekend. The others probably looking at mid to late October, so still a few weeks away, but positive news based on what we could have been facing. We obviously now have a position with those three that you mentioned in particular, where we can put the hammer down a little bit. Teo is, again, without going into too much detail, is very, very close to being able to be back running. And once that happens, we hope that his rehab and his recovery will increase quickly. We've just got to get over a little objective marker that allows us to do that. Similarly with R2, hopefully we'll see him back outside start of next week, and just for the lads to be out and be in and around the training groups will be good for them. And I've said this before, but hopefully come the middle to the end of October we'll be a lot stronger than we were now, and we don't lose players in the meantime that almost as we get one back another one goes out. We've got to make sure we try and keep everybody fit, because when we are fit, I think we have a real strong squad and one that's able to compete right at the top of the table.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
Welcome. Cheers. Thank you.